Hey y'all, it's Delaney.
And it's Katie, and this is the Tea with Delaney and Katie.
All right, y'all. So in this episode, we're giving y'all the tea on having our own stuff.
Right, because Black people need their own stuff. It's time.
But first, let's get into what we're drinking. Katie, what you got?
Okay. I have, so if you go to the Asian market, they have the little sachets of tea with the little crystals in it. This is a brown sugar ginger one and a little bit of oat milk. Y'all. And I put some ice. I put a little mason jar. See?
Fancy.
It's not fancy. It's water in the tea bag. There's nothing fancy about that.
Tea could be fancy. Ask the queen.
It's
anyway,
so good.
I am once again drinking coffee. So the coffee with Delaney.
Okay, I'm about to say the coffee with Delaney and Katie.
That's what we're doing. Yeah, that's what we're drinking. But like we said, today we're giving y'all the tea on having our own stuff. So we're gonna start with telling y'all a little bit about a dynamic woman named Nora Holt. Yes. So Nora Holt, she had a lot going on, and just one of those people with just an illustrious life, and just where's her biopic?
Like do you say biopic or biopic?
I say biopic because it's their biography. Or I guess biopic, but I say biopic because it's someone's bio. I don't know.
Yeah, I say biopic, and I'll be looking at people like, what you say?
I don't know. I just separate the words bio and pic.
That makes sense though. Sorry, it's just an aside.
Okay, so she was born in either 1884 or 1885. Nobody knows for sure because it's your business.
It's your business, and don't nobody to know. That's not their business.
So she was born in Kansas City, Kansas, and she started playing the piano at age 4. Come on, prodigy.
Period on their heads.
Right. And so she also began playing organ in church. Her father was a church elder at an AME church, that's African Methodist Episcopal, if you're not familiar with your and he was also a board member at Western University. So she was a student at Western University as well, and her and her father collaborated on the school song, "Oh Western U." And so her father wrote the words to the song, and she wrote the medley. You hear me? Melody for the song. The melody for the song. But while she was a student, one of her professors decided they were going to try her, which you should have known, not today, not Miss Nora. He decided he was going to try her and say, well, you know, I actually wrote the song and try to claim authorship of her song. Even though he helped with a couple of harmonizations at most, which is your job, because you're a teacher at the school that she's learning music at.
Okay, Mr. Taylor saying, that's my fellowship because I taught you.
Right. Showing up to your lessons
right.
So she decided, you know what? If I can't get credit for my work, nobody get credit for it, period. So she destroyed the score. And then continued to snatch edges by graduating as valedictorian from Western University in 1917 with her bachelor's degree in music. And she went on to earn her master's degree in music at the Chicago Musical College and became the first African-American person to earn a master's degree in music composition in the United States. Why don't we know, why isn't this
exactly
a staple in our music history?
And they waste so much time with all these other people, and it's like I have not heard about her until after I left my white institutions.
That's
crazy.
The first African-American person to earn a master's degree in music composition. That's huge. So she also went on to study music education at the University of Southern California. Shout out to USC. And then she went on to be in a couple of entanglements. After that, she had she had multiple endeavors in terms of like her compositions that she did in school, obviously, and she also went and frolicked in France, being popping for a little bit. But all in the midst of that, you know, she was married 5 times,
Ah,
which I mean,
right,
period.
sis,
Kick
don't
him to the
settle.
curb, sis.
Kick
Kick
them
him
to
to
the
the curb.
curb. Let them go. Cut them off. That's exactly how you do it, baby. She said, "Oh, you problematic? Oh, that's all we got to do. Be
Right,
married 5 times and 6 months after that. Do never settle."
right, period. Because I mean, she just to me, she sounds like somebody that's a little bit too popping to be tolerating any old thing.
Yeah, she probably was like, cause I can know it was his fault. I don't know that, like, we wasn't there, but I just know it was his fault. Someone tell me otherwise. Who gonna tell me? Okay.
No. Yeah.
Oh, it's me. Here I go. Okay, so from 1917 to 1921, she contributed to the music criticism journal, um, the music criticism section in the Chicago Defender, which was a Black daily newspaper. So, just in case you don't know what music criticism is, like back in the day, does that still happen? Oh yeah, because remember when they dragged Eastman at the Remember when Philharmonia
Yeah.
went to Lincoln Center? Not Lincoln Center.
Yeah.
Carnegie Hall?
It might have been Lincoln Center.
It's Lincoln Center. They dragged them, so yeah, it still exists.
Yeah.
Music criticism is basically a music critic goes to a performance and like writes a review on it. So she was doing it. And then she also published and edited the Music and Poetry Journal. She was doing a whole bunch of stuff in Chicago. She wrote a chronological history of NAM, that's the National Association for Negro Musicians, and that led her to becoming the co-founder of that organization and the Chicago Music Association. So that's another association for Black musicians, you know, same period. Okay, after that, she spent 12 years in Europe and Asia. She was touring around. She was doing her little concerts, her little private events, her little this, her little that. But before she left, like up to that point, she wrote. It's like the most devastating part of the story for me, as a classical musician. So because in classical music we are always looking for Black composers. Like, I mean, not looking for. We have to look for them because they're not championed. But we're always looking for music for Black composers, like who wrote for my instrument, who wrote for this ensemble. And so before she went to Europe and Asia, she put like 200 compositions in storage before she left. Did her thing, and when she came back, the box was stolen. What the heck? Ugh. So she had one piece survive, and it's called Negro Dance, which is like a ragtime inspired piano piece. Miss Mama was a wealthy socialite. Like, she was here, she was there, like she was popping. Like, huh?
I said stepping out.
Stepping out. Like, she had a lot of money because she inherited money from her late husband, George Holt. Do your thing, Mom. And so she moved to Harlem in the late 1920s, and she was an important part of the Harlem Renaissance. She was fraternizing with all them folk over there. Then she moved to Los Angeles, where she taught music for several years in the 1930s, all while studying music at the University of Southern California, like Delaney said. She also ran a beauty shop, which, period, like, what kind of hair was she doing? That's what I want to know. What kind of hair was she doing? Like, okay, it was 1930s.
Yeah, she was probably
She's probably doing pressing stuff because Madam C.J. Walker just had her stuff start popping off, so maybe that she was probably doing that kind of stuff, straightening hair and stuff like that, doing them little. She was also heavily involved in the school board. She took a position as editor and music critic in the Black-oriented publication Amsterdam News. And then in 1945, she began the American Negro Artists Festival on the radio. It was like a radio program. I'm loving this, like, Black. Listen, we already doing stuff like this. Like, me and Delaney got something. We working on some stuff, but I love it. I love this energy. She was also the producer and musical director of the weekly program Nora Holt's Concert Showcase from 1953 to 1964. And then in 1966, she she attended the first World Festival for Negro Artists in Dakar, Senegal. She was elected to the Music Critics Circle of New York, and this is highlighted as one of her biggest achievements. But I mean, it is, but also like I just don't. Why does one of her biggest achievements have to be in proximity to whiteness? Like because when you're elected to this group of people, it's like woo, like you did it, girl, you did it, and it's like, but she did a whole bunch of stuff before this. Like starting NAM, that's like a huge achievement. You started NAM and it's still going today, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an achievement nonetheless, but I just don't like how it's like, this is like her biggest achievement. And then she died in 1974. So she had a full life. She was doing her thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like we said, we're getting into why support
Wait,
for
you
Black.
said it again? Because I had to wipe, like my nose was, okay. I'm just going to have to cut that little part out. My nose was, okay.
All right, so like we said, we're going to get into why it's important for Black people to have their own stuff. So, like Katie mentioned, Ms. Nora, she started the National Association of Negro, which is an organization that one can have membership in, and there are different branches of it now. I mean, this is what we know of now in 2020. But she started this as a way to connect Black musicians. And the reason why we want to talk about this is because so many times you see the achievements and contributions of Black people being either like erased or disregarded because there's no one that's gonna care about our stuff more than we do.
Right.
Like for somebody to dedicate an organization to preserving and highlighting Black musicians and their work, like that's not going to happen anywhere else. Because I mean, Katie and I both have gone to music school and been in music history classes and have never, we're going through a whole like curriculum where we're not talking about Black composers or Black musicians. So
yeah, we want to highlight some of the areas of why we think it's important to have our own stuff just in our personal life. One of the first things is that white people be in the way. Okay, that's just like cut and dry. Sometimes, not all the time. Okay, not all the time, but a lot of times, white people will be in the way. And just to give you an example of this, especially going to white institutions. Like I went to a state school for undergrad, and then we both went to. Did we say our school name? Did we say our school name? Okay, we both went to the Eastman School of Music in Rochester. So we've just come into contact with how sometimes white people will stop the progression of a Black person. So, for example, at one of the people at our school that goes there now, they were actually, before they applied, they were discouraged to apply because they're like, oh, you should play your instrument at a community college. And meanwhile, this person is in a program that prepares you to go to Eastman. It prepares you to do that. And their teacher was like their primary teacher, like you see this person every week. They go to your recitals, like you were with this person for an hour every single week. And this person told this student, I think you should go to a community college when you're in a program that is supposed to prepare you to go to Eastman. And they applied anyway and they got in. Oh, right. That's an important part.
That's the most important part because it's like people, I know some people might be like, oh, what's wrong with that? It's nothing wrong with going to community college, but not for the right reasons. You didn't tell him to go there for the right reasons. You told him to go there because you felt like, this person was not up to par with Eastman or whatever. And so, you just go here and don't waste your time, XYZ, or go there because it's going to be more cost effective for you. The tuition is free if you're going to teach them through this program.
Right.
So why are you not preparing them for that?
Exactly. It'd be different if this person was playing like their instrument for like a year and was like, you know what, go to community college. Because I didn't say anything wrong with going to community college at all. But go to community college and keep working with me, and then we can try to apply for Eastman in 2 years. No, that wasn't what it was. Like, just like, oh no, not for you. And it's also like, if this person hasn't, even if you don't know about like how music is at community college, it's like, it's really difficult the people do it, of course, but it's really difficult to go to community college and then go into a music school, because a lot of the curriculum is like on a track. So to interrupt that, like a lot of community colleges, their music programs are limited. So even the fact that like she jumped all the way to community college, when like you could have, there's several state schools around Rochester that have good music programs. So how did you get there? And this person got in and got their full scholarship and they whatever else, like as you should, because he decided to do it anyway. And it's like, that's one example. Like sometimes white people, like, they don't always have our best interests at heart. And that's not all white people, of course. That's not what I mean. That's not true. Because to say like me even applying to Eastman was a suggestion of a white person. So I'm not gonna be like, oh, white people. That's not what I'm saying. But it happens. Like sometimes they get in the way. It's happened to me personally. I had somebody else tell me that Eastman was just a school, because it was my number one. I wanted it more than life itself. I'm like, I have to get into the school. And then someone told, oh, Eastman's just a school. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go pay my little application fee and ignore you. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just like, it's just something about for us, by us, that gets the job done, like, I feel like, and maybe that's just for any group of people, but in Black people, like, we go hard for our people, especially because there's so much to make up for. Like, there's been so much that's been implemented systemically to keep us behind everyone else. And so when people are in the position to create things for Black people, it's just more powerful that way, because these have been people who have built something for themselves, and they're like, okay, now I have this foundation, and I'm gonna bring some Black people up with me. And I feel like that's just super, super important. If you're in to do that, like, obviously, like, can't nobody make you create an association or whatever. But if you're in a position to, in any way, like Katie and I, we built a platform called Free Black, so now we're like, so what else can we do? Like, it's just about like expanding that, because like we said, like, I mean, we count on the people that was talking about separate but equal, what, 60 60 years ago.
Exactly.
We can't include us. Like, I'm so sorry, but it's just not realistic. And it's just math and history. That's all it is. It's not no personal, man, white people this, white people that. Like, it's literally just math and history. That's it.
And another thing, when we, in the same vein of Black people caring about Black stuff, we see it in Nora Holt's story about her music being stolen. I mean, that's a little different, because like it was stolen, but stolen by whom? So it's like, when Black people have their own things, like, imagine if we had our own music publishing company, if we had our own music library. Funny, we should write some of this stuff down. Then like our stuff would be held in the same regard and with the same care as, like, I mean, and okay, to be fair, music being lost happens. Like, the music, like a common thing that string players play, except for violins, is like the Bach cello suites, right? Everybody except the violins will play this Bach cello suite. All we have is a little napkin of the fifth suite that Bach wrote, right? Everything else was like from his wife, like, who, and we hope it's accurate, we hope like whatever, but the only for real thing we have is like a little piece of paper with some of the fifth suite on it. So it happens, like, music being lost happens, but we're not going to act like the regard that people held Mahler and Beethoven in happens with William Grant Still and Nora Holt. Well, obviously not. And Chevalier. Like, we're not going to act like it's across the board like that, because people just don't care. So we got to care.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, music sounds like it's lost. Like I know that they just found that old viola sonata, whatever that Shostakovich wrote.
Mm,
Um, but look at like whose music gets lost and how often. Like it's
right.
like I was planning a recital of all Black composers, and I'm going through this big old encyclopedia, the second volume. I'm going through it, and it's like this thick, and like I would say a majority of the works in there were like either lost or unpublished. And it's like, imagine if we had our own stuff to ensure that those things would be published and premiered and preserved and all of that. PPP. Um,
Right.
but wasn't it Florence Price's stuff that was like found on like a patio or something, or
Oh,
like,
shoot, for real?
yeah, I feel like I heard that maybe it was from Lee, but that like it was either Florence Price or somebody else big. I'm pretty sure it was Florence Price, where like her stuff was found in like on a patio or something, and it was like it had withstood like the weather because like was that like in Chicago, like it had
Mm-hmm.
and it was all in good condition, and it's just like who Florence Price, like why is this stuff just out on a patio somewhere?
Right.
Like I feel like it was either her or William Gransteel. It sounds like it's more likely to be her because William Gransteel was primarily in Los Angeles,
Mm.
and a weather here. So
Okay, now ain't no weather. Oh, snap.
but man, yeah, having our own stuff.
We need to do it. And we're working on it. A lot of people, listen, you ain't seen nothing yet. Don't mean it's not coming. We are going to have our own thing.
Yeah,
Classical
and I
Black
mean
was
this is
catalyst.
yeah, right. Classical Black was a catalyst, and I'm saying, and this is also an example of that, of the
Right.
stuff like this show and what Adrian's doing with BME TV.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening on stuff.
Period. And that's the tea on that, y'all. So we will see y'all in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.